This is Chuck, and thank you for stopping by the shop. We're going to review the Simder welder here. It's the SD-4050 Pro, and it's a inverter digital type welder, 10-in-1 multi-process, quite a few processes. Before we go too far into the welder, a little bit knowledge I have of Simder. They've been around since 2017, 2018, and they've developed quite a few of these inverter type welders. So it's not their first shot at it. I did read, and I thought I'd explain it real quick. The refund policy on this machine is a 30-day refund, and if you're going to refund the machine, it has to go back in its exact same box and packaging. It's almost like sending it back unboxed. I read that and I thought I would share that. I read a lot of reviews on Simder. I'm not really familiar with the equipment, and you look at the column, there's great reviews and there's bad reviews. What can I say to that? Sometimes bad reviews are people that don't know how to use the machine, since this machine is designed for home hobbyists. Very much possible. Right here I have a Miller 135 MIG welder, and hey, I'm a home hobbyist. I got the unit, called the dealer that I bought it from. I says, hey, this thing just doesn't weld. He says, hey, bring it down. I brought it down, we went in his back room, he hooked it up, he welded with it, and I looked at him and had jackass ears and said, operator error. Okay, thank you. So, a little bit about me, now that we've talked about the unit here. I'm a home hobbyist, tool nut, and I started welding back when I was about 19, so about 50 years ago. Self-taught. A little bit of high school night school, and enjoy welding, to be honest with you. My own equipment in my shop, I have a Miller Syncrowave 250, which is right down here. I've got a Miller Matic 200 MIG welder. The Syncrowave will do TIG and arc. The Miller Matic 200 is a MIG machine. I mentioned the Miller 135 MIG. Also have a Hypertherm Plasma 45, Hypertherm 45 Plasma, and then I also have a Miller spot welder with the timer option. So in the sense of welding machines, I've got all industrial machines here, and they take up a lot of space and they're expensive. So back to home hobbyists. This machine for a home hobbyist could be a winner. We're going to do a little bit of demo, and I will put a sheet. I'll put a sheet up as a still photo that shows you everything that comes with the machine. Running down it real quick, of course, it's a MIG welder, so you get a MIG gun, you get a liner and the gas hose, and you do not get a tank, and you do not get a regulator for MIG welding. TIG welding, you get a TIG torch, and you get the some caps and stuff. Again, you don't get a flow meter for it, nor a tank, nor a tungsten. So those are all expenses that add on to the home hobbyist. And the plasma cutter, you get a torch, and you get 1 cup and 1 shield. So you'd have to, in time, purchase other items. And then it comes with the air pressure regulator. So we'll get into it a little further. The machine comes wired for a drop down below, but a 30 amp 220, and they also provide a 110 outlet for it. So it welds either in a 110 current or the 220 current. I've done both. I haven't done the 220. We're going to do that. I've done a bunch with 110, and we'll get into that. So let me rotate the machine here, and I'll reset. Well, here's a shot at the front of the machine, just to show you. I've got the unit plugged into 110 volt right now with the adapter. It's a 30 amp plug, and let's turn on the machine. Right now I do have the MIG gun attached. I've been doing some MIG welding with it, and to pull the MIG gun, of course, I got to cut the wire and then refeed the wire, so I didn't want to go through that. So right now the MIG gun's connected. I don't have the ground clamp connected into it. There's multiple ports down below here, and in the manual they're numbered on all your various connections, that how you set the different cables in. I got tired of bending over and looking, so I actually took a felt pen and wrote the numbers of the ports, so that way when I look at the manual, I simply can do the inputs. My manual, I ended up putting tabs on it so I can actually go to the page, and if I go to MIG, it shows me MIG and it shows me which ports to hook into. So it's really good for the home hobbyist and old dummy like me. Right now I'm running the MIG with gas. I'm not, so we'll end up hooking up that way. Behind the panel here, you basically have settings. Here it shows MIG, sync MIG, let's see, I can't see through here, MIG pulse, cut, MMA, which is arc, and TIG. You basically just hit the button and make your selections. Same thing on the second one here. You got your dials and you have your other inputs here. Quite a bit to learn, to be honest with you, but it covers all the various welding functions. So I'm not going to try to teach you anything here. I'm going to do some welding with it to show you, and try to put it through a couple paces. Hang on 1 second there. The other day on 110 volt, did a little bit of plasma. This was welding on top of the cuts we did. I had a buddy over here. More plasma cutting there, and then welds on top of the plasma cut. Those were arc welds and MIG welds. And more welding samples with it. With this said, I gotta say we were both very impressed with the machine. All in all, it did really well. These were the spot welds, and we'll do a few here. But all in all, really pretty happy with the machine. Well, just to show you the ground clamp, there's the MIG gun over here, and then on the table there's the TIG torch. There's your that's your arc welding stinger, the gas lead for the TIG torch, and the plasma cutter. Right now the MIG gun, as I said, is wired in. So we're going to go ahead and do a little plasma cutting first. So get the book out here, and the plasma cutting torch goes to terminal 16. The 2-core switch to terminal 15, and ground clamp to terminal 14. So let me get it set up. Okay, got the unit set up here to cut. Per the manual, the ground clamp goes to number 14. The trigger wire goes to 15, and the cutting torch, the plasma torch, goes to 16. It screws into a port there. One issue here is that the trigger connection does have a threaded ferrule, but you can't get your fingers in there to thread it, so it's just plugged in. Pretty simple to set up. Basically hit your selector to get to cut. Shows you cut up on the screen. and it shows you your amperage that you're cutting at. We're going to do a little 10 gauge first and 110 volts, and we'll go at 20 amps and give it a try. It does come with a air regulator that's in the back of the unit. It's not a high dollar regulator by any means. It works, and they provide air hose for it also. You need your own connections in and out of to your own air supply. They do give you some connections to go into the regulator. Okay, that was a fail. That was successful, and this is a drag tip that comes with the unit. Let me whack off this other side. Did a nice cut. Quite a bit of dross on the back side. Let me double check air pressure. Okay, we're going to do the same material. I did go ahead, you can see down below there, I've plugged it into 220, and we'll fire it up. It'll self-adjust knowing that it's 220 now, and we'll leave it at the same setting and see what kind of cut we get. So we're still at cut, we're still at 30, and 30 is as high as it's going to go. Oh, let it go higher than 30, it'll go up to 40. We'll stay at 30 for right now, just to see. Let's try 20 first. We tried 20 on that first one. So let's try 20 and see what we do. No, 20's not enough. Go back to the 30. A little cleaner on the dross. You see it basically breaks right off. But let's go right to it. Half-inch plate. We'll turn the unit all the way up to 40. We're at 220 volt, and we're going to give it a go. This will be a first shot at this. Well, it was cutting fine, and then it started having problems. Let me try cutting where it's not on top of a rib here, and see if that changes it. Well, I'm not having any luck at half-inch plate. The book says it'll sever. I'll put it in the notes here. What it says it'll sever, but it wasn't doing half-inch plate there. We're at the highest setting on it. Yep, highest setting. Okay, let's move on to. I gotta cut one more piece. I'm kind of having fun with it, to be honest with you. We'll go back to the 10 gauge. Well, let's see, where's my other scrap here? We got something a little heavier than 10 gauge. There's some 3/16. Not a problem on 3/16. Dross on the back. I was cutting pretty quick there though. Okay, let's move on to some more welding. So we're at 220 volts, amperage is at 20, and wire speed is at 8. Got a little slow there at the end. Nice little bead. Let's try another one. Maybe crank the voltage up just a hair. And turn the wire speed just down a hair. See what we get. We're at 220 volt. That sounds terrible. Give it a little more wire speed. That didn't sound good at all. Well, definitely getting some heat through this piece. This is 10 gauge, and that last bead was kind of nice. I'm going to try just cranking it up one more time. On the bolts and 9 on the wire feed. Again, any of this stuff is all helmet time and practice. I don't like that. I really don't like that. Just put the two together there. And got some pretty good penetration there, definitely. All right, it can MIG weld at 110 volt or 220. Okay, I have the unit set to spot weld, so let's give it a shot here. This is a galvanized 26 gauge. Again, like most things, it takes practice. You can see I got it set way too hot. The first one was okay, second one was way too hot. Definitely burnt through and did not bite on the galvanized. Neither one did. This show you spot welding with it. This is a 26 gauge bonderized sheet metal. That's why it's got the color. Oh, that one went through hot. Probably the metal's hot. Oh, bonded there. You can see it there. I did a couple of shots before. There's the weld side and there's the back side. So it spot welds nice, and again it would just take practice and timing, but simple. You just pull the trigger. Just pull the trigger. And you get a spot weld. That's simple. I like that. Okay, we're going to switch over to arc welding. That spot welding was at 220 volt and it works great at 110 volt also. So we'll flip over to arc welding now. So we got to open up the front here and go to MMA, and we have our voltage set, and we're good to go. And our amps, voltage and amps. And I did have to look at the manual, and the ground changed and went to number 12, and the arc holder is in number 13. So you have to move the units around, and the machine understands what's happening. Let me reset up. Okay, this is arc welding. We've got the unit set at 124 amps, 1/8 inch, 6013 rod. And I'm very rusty at arc welding, but we'll give it hell here. See how she burns. Let me get that cleaned up. Well, I like it. I have a problem when I arc weld. I'm so used to TIG and MIG, I forget to keep my stinger in the puddle. But you can see I had a nice bead running and then came out of the puddle a little bit and then kind of got back in. Nice cut in though. She burned in really nice there. So I'm going to run another bead just for the fun of it, because I like that, and then we'll move on. This is the little brush they give you, and it kind of works pretty good. Yep, nice burn-in. I got to finish this rod. I like it. You can see the cut in there at the end. It's getting a nice deep cut into the 1/2 inch plate. It can weld, it can arc weld. Okay, let's do a little TIG welding. turn the unit on here. See the green light here is set on TIG, and right now we got the amps down at 26, and got the gas hooked up. And here's what happens when you don't have the gas hooked up correctly. This was a hobbyist error, which I talked about right in the beginning. I didn't pay attention, and I made an assumption of where the argon should be connected to, and it was a mistake. So basically blow the tungsten right off the heat. So anyway, let me get set up, and we'll see if we can do some correct TIG welding. So there's a little TIG welding. I got that at 50 amps. I'm used to a foot pedal where I can adjust my heat back and out, but not too bad. Well, I'm a home hobbyist, but it does TIG weld nice there. Got good penetration through. I like it. Okay, if you made it this far, let's close out the video on the Simder 450 Pro. As you saw, we did arc welding, MIG welding, plasma cutting, and TIG welding with it. On the MIG, I did not have the flex core wire, so our MIG was done with gas, but you can run flex core. And they also have a pulse MIG for doing aluminum. I'm not set up to do that right now, so we did not see that. All in all, the machine performed well. And as I stated in the beginning, the cost of the machine versus industrial machines, of course, is much less. The space that it takes is negligible compared to industrial machines. And the fact that the portability of it. If I needed to, I could take this out and it would work fine. So I'll leave it at that. You guys can decide if this is the machine for you. But all in all, I think it's a good machine. Take care and happy welding.